Hello and welcome to a Draw With Me session. If you don't know me, my name is Ku and I am a full-time artist residing in Orlando, Florida. I'm a tattoo artist by day, and this year I thought it would be fun to start a project where I draw all current 1025 Pokemon in a compiled flashbook. I know, it's gonna take a while, but if you know me, I love a good tedious project. I just got back from Japan about a week ago, and while there I came across this binder book that you can fill with sketchbook paper, and I thought it would be perfect for this project since I can take pages in and out as I please. I plan to draw the Pokemon in number order, so today we're starting with the very first Pokédex entry, Bulbasaur. Here, I'm sectioning out 3 circles so I can eventually fill the page with Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur. I usually start off my drawings with very basic shapes, such as circles and squares, because it helps with composition of the overall drawings on the page and general flow of the subjects. From there, I start to draw out the silhouette of the subject, and then move on to the details like its eyes and mouth. I know a lot of artists tend to use different color pencils to do the underlayers and such, but personally I've always utilized sketching very lightly with just pencils and then darkening my lines from there as I work through the layers. So needless to say, I prefer a softer lead pencil like my 4B pencil I'm using here. Once I'm done with a basic sketch, I tend to go in with a sharper mechanical pencil for the fine details. Oh, by the way, there's actually an overall theme that will be present in this project, and that is stars. If you don't follow me over on my Instagram, I ran a poll in my channel asking my followers what kind of theme I should go for the book, since I wanted some sort of cohesivity. Between the choices Celestial and Floral, Celestial won by a heap, so expect to see a lot of that in this book. I love drawing dumb little stars, so I'm super excited to be able to draw all kinds of Pokemon with stars and planets and sparkles. And looks like we're now moving on to line art. I use a Sakura Micron pen for most of my traditional work since I do tend to prefer a solid black line art with varying line weights. I always admire artists that can use different color line arts in their work, and honestly I've been trying to incorporate more of that in my work recently too, in both my art and my tattoos. Just because black can be a little bit too heavy on the eyes sometimes, and I honestly kind of regret using black line art for Bulbasaur's markings here too. I wish I could have just used something like a darker green or blue to let it blend in more with the colors later, but that's okay. We live and we learn, and what artist doesn't strive to get better with every piece, you know? And that's what I enjoy about analog work as well. I can easily digitize it later and update the designs with the things I wished I had done different. Plus, these designs will all be tattoos in the future, and I can change them up then too. We're getting ready for color now. Yippee! My favorite part. I'm laying a piece of plastic underneath my page to prepare for my alcohol markers since they tend to bleed underneath, and I obviously don't want my nice wooden table to get dirty. The brand of alcohol markers I use are Ohuhu's, and honestly... Ohuhu's. Ohuhu. And honestly, I've been in love with these little suckers since the day I got them. My coworker actually let me borrow his set about a year ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about them since. Shout out Gabo. So I'm super happy to finally have my hands on them. I've been getting back into traditional work a lot more these days, and I feel so much more inspired to draw because of them. I never thought I enjoyed using alcohol markers this much, especially since growing up with Copic. They've been a little too expensive for me to get my hands on, but Ohuhus are so much more affordable and, dare I say, much better than Copics. At least I think they blend much smoother than Copics in my personal opinion. Before diving straight into the artwork with colors, I always make sure to take a piece of scrap paper the same material as the artwork and swatch the colors I'm looking for, because with alcohol markers they tend to look different depending on how porous your paper is. The more porous your paper, the darker the color tends to be, so of course you can never trust the color on the pens itself either, so test swatches I do. As far as steps go, I just tend to start wherever my heart desires, to be honest, and for this I started with the bulb to set the tone of the piece because it's one of the main focal points in the design, with the starburst coming from the bulb and all. I'm going in with the color G340 as a base layer, and I'm kind of realizing the colorless blender doesn't work too well on this type of paper, so I don't try that again. It still looks fine, so I leave the highlights as is. I now go in with the color GY2, blending it out with the same G140. It's a race against time with alcohol markers sometimes, because to get it to blend smoothly, you need to work while it's wet, and these things dry fast. I usually tend to do about 3 layers a section, gradually adding darker colors in until I'm satisfied with the overall values within the colors to give it a good dimension. I'm now using the color GY3, again blending it out with the lightest color of the group, G140. As we move on to the body, I choose the base layer color to be G340, which is slightly more teal than the bulb. Choosing colors tend to come pretty natural to me these days. Thanks to tattooing, I've become very well versed in color theory and how value, saturation, tone, hue, and contrast all play a part in the overall balance of the artwork. Feel free to leave any questions in the comment section if you'd like. I would talk your ear off about color theory if you so allowed me to. When working with alcohol markers, I've learned it's best to work from light to dark because of how you blend the colors together, which is cool because it's the entirely opposite of tattooing. With tattooing, I have to work with the darkest colors first, blending out to the lighter colors, so I find it super fascinating to explore different types of mediums as an artist, and it sure makes my brain work. Here, I'm actually giving the same color a second pass after the first layer has dried because I found that I can give a very subtle shadow layer if I do so. It's nice for when you don't want a super harsh shadow, which I don't most of the time, so I really love that about alcohol markers. Now I'm going in with BG3 to give Bulbasaur's body some more definition. Honestly, I love that I can be a little bit more messy and carefree with markers and focus less on the details, just because that's what tends to give this medium its texture and personality. I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to digital art, and tattooing can be stressful in the same way too because of the pressure to be perfect. So having this medium as a breather has done wonderful things to my psyche. Here you can see me rubbing the two colors together onto the lighter marker to create a slightly darker color because again, I don't want too harsh of a shadow, but I also just want a wee bit more dimension in its face after adding a darker shading to the rest of its body. I found this technique gives a little bit more blendability, and this also works for different hues of color rather than just different values too. So if you wanted to blend like a pink with a blue, you can do that just a little bit and create like a slightly purplish color. Now that the greens are done, we move on to pinks and reds. I've chosen the colors R20, R1, and R8 to shade the eyes, and I couldn't quite find the perfect color for the vines, so I ended up blending a brownish yellow, Y8, with a sage green, G240, to put a little bit of a warmth in the design. So the thing about me and my color palettes is I like taking a random color from the main palette to add into the background for cohesivity. In this case, red from the eyes, because a lot of the time it creates some sort of unity between the main subject and the background. For example, in this Streepy tattoo I did back in March, I used the same color for the sparkles as I did for the tips of its head, and then brought that forward with a pop of pink in the background. I was going in with the same mindset for the stars in this Bulbasaur design, but as soon as I laid down the colors, I instantly hated it. So I do end up changing it later, and thank God I felt a little better about it. Honestly, I should have just went with a standard yellow and gold color scheme for the stars, but I wanted it a little more funky, I guess. So I guess the blue color scheme looks nice. I don't know. I'm still like a little iffy about it, but whatever. The last step is to add in the highlights in the eyes with some gouache. This part is always the most satisfying for me. Not only does it give life to the eyes, I get to feel the satisfaction of a completed piece. And there we have it. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for listening to me ramble for so long. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to improve in terms of video making and editing. This is still my second video on my channel, so any and all feedback is welcome. If you can't think of anything, honestly, comment your favorite Pokemon. I'm always super curious about what everyone's favorite Pokemon are, so feed my curiosity, please. Truly, there's a Pokemon for everyone. Thanks for watching!